Hey sophomores, welcome to today's screencast. I'm going to walk you through the beginning week of your 4-week assignment for digital information persuasive essay. So for the next 4 weeks, you're going to be writing a persuasive essay, but you won't actually start writing it until week 6. For weeks 3, 4, and 5, you are going to be considering a couple of topics, figuring out a position statement, which is a fancy way to say thesis statement, and then you're going to be researching that thesis statement. So that's going to be the next 3 weeks of work. So today I'm just going to walk you through the first week of that work. So if you look here in your Schoology folder for week 3, you'll notice that I have an explanation of week's work, and then you have a writing skills worksheet. You'll have that every week in weeks 3, 4, and 5. And then I have this digital information assignment for week 3. That's week 1 of the whole project, but it starts in week 3. So that's what that is. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. And that brings us to the week 3 assignment page. So you'll notice that it says using digital information in a persuasive essay, week 3 assignment. So each week it'll say week 4 assignment, week 5 assignment, week 6 assignment, just to keep you focused, but this is a 4-week unit. So the overview here is that in weeks 3, 4, and 5, you are going to develop a position statement. Now, a position statement is simply a thesis statement where you take a position on an issue, okay? If you click on this document right here, you will notice that what pops up is a full-page explanation of position statements. So I encourage you to read through that so that you understand what I'm talking about when I say position statement, because I'll be saying it over and over again. All right, so you're going to basically get 6 topics there right here, and you are going to choose a topic. Then you're going to research that topic. Now, you're going to be utilizing all of the research information that we talked about in weeks 1 and 2 so that you can understand how to research laterally, how to ascertain bias or perspective of a certain author, how to understand that author's expertise, how to understand whether that author is writing a blog post, which is sort of an opinion piece, or has written in a peer-reviewed journal or something like that, which means peer review just means that that author, when they wrote their document, they based it on their own research, and then it had to go through a review of, say, 5 other experts before it could gain entry or publication into this site. So that's what a peer-reviewed source is. Peer-reviewed sources in general are valued way more highly than a document that occurs in a non-peer-reviewed journal, just so that you know that. So this is your explanation. Here are your topics. And then right here is an opportunity for you to just write down your topic. You're going to have a copy of this whole document. So this will become yours and you'll just write your own topic. And then we talk about the overall process. Again, that's the full process and I break it down by week. So in week 3, you're going to think about your topic. You're going to work through this document that I'm walking you through right now, and you're going to write your position statement. That is what is due this week, a 1-sentence thesis statement, basically. All right, and then you're going to move forward with your research in weeks 4 and 5. You'll need to turn in 2 researched sources in week 4 and 1 researched source in week 5. And then you're going to also in week 5, you're going to have an opportunity to discuss those findings with several colleagues. That's coming up in a bit in this screencast, so I'll show you that in a second. And then basically in week 6, you will have 3 sources, you will have had conversations with peers, and then you will write a full essay, minimum of 4 paragraphs, where you will try to persuade your reader that your perspective, that your position on this issue is valid. All right, so for this week, again, the outcome objective, or what you've got to turn in, is just to write a position statement, which is a thesis statement that takes a position on an issue that's going to address one of those above topics. And again, your topics are the Green New Deal, police reform, social media privacy, COVID, the Capitol insurrection of 2021, and voter fraud. So the steps you're going to take in week 3, which is this current week, you're going to choose your topic. Then you're going to move from your topic to a position statement. Now, for some of you, that's going to go like that because some of you have some really strong opinions on one of those topics. I recommend that you write this whole research paper based on something you're passionate about. Now, if none of those 6 things appeals to you, then you might have a conversation with a friend or a parent, try and figure out where you stand. But for some of you, that's going to be super easy. So once you have your topic, you have to go from that topic to your position statement. And I give you a couple of guiding questions or things to do. If you look at the numbers, number one, what do you know about the topic right now? What have you heard about the topic? And then I want you to sort of determine what the topic is and what it is not. It's basically helping you to narrow your focus so that you can find relevant sources. Then you're going to determine the social debate, like what's the conversation societally regarding this issue. Then you're going to research just a bit if you still don't have a strong opinion, because remember, there's nothing that's absolutely positive or negative in the world. So you're just trying to gather evidence on both sides to try and figure out where you stand. Then, once you have figured out where you stand, you have to write your position statement. Now, again, it is possible that you're going to write that position statement having not researched a single thing. If you have been watching wall-to-wall news coverage about what's been going on at the Capitol, you probably have an opinion already. You don't need to look at what I mean by the Capitol insurrection of 2021 because you already know. So you don't have to do any research. You just have to write your position statement. Tell me what you think. But when you write your position statement, I need you to be ready to also address the counterpoints or the counter argument so that your essay encompasses both your argument and the counter arguments or the other side of the issue. All right, I've provided a very rough draft of a possible default thesis statement that will get your counterclaim and then your claim. And it's just although blank, blank. So I have in purple below a full example, and we'll just walk through that together. So here's a model of that thinking that I just walked through with you. The model is in purple, and this one discusses the topic of college admissions testing. So here's what I already know if I brainstorm. I know that colleges require certain credits and that most colleges also require admissions test in the form of like the ACT or the SAT. And then here's what I've heard. I've heard that there's some money associated with that. I've heard that your scores really determine which schools folks can get into, and that many colleges also require an essay. And then lots of people pay somebody to help them prepare for those tests and those essays. Now, here's what it is and what it is not. It is going to be about admissions testing. So I'm going to brainstorm a whole bunch of questions about that. I want to really focus on admissions testing. Like, is it okay? Is it fair? Is it too expensive? Is it an accurate assessment of who's going to do well in college? Is it biased? I'm going to ask all those kinds of questions. And then I'm going to narrow down what it is not so that I don't waste any time researching stuff that's not really going to end up in my paper. So it is not about putting together a good admissions packet, although that could make a nice essay. It's not about how to write a better essay. It's not about getting a part-time job to pay for college. It's not about whether or not we should acquire student loans. My paper's not going to be about anything like that. It's just going to be the admissions test and the questions I ask about that test. So the next thing I'm going to do is consider the societal debate going on around it. So lots of folks are arguing that testing is implicitly biased, that testing privileges white wealthy students, that testing doesn't actually predict success in college. And then there's a couple of counter arguments to that, like it is necessary in order to help colleges kind of narrow down who they're going to admit to their college. And it also does, in fact, maybe reward students who work hard and who learn content in high school, so they automatically would just do better on their essay. So these are kind of the debates that I'm figuring out as I kind of do a couple of Google searches and try to read a little bit laterally, not deeply, just to try and get the sense of what this argument is. Okay, and then that's number 5, where I'm just researching to secure my position. I have a strong opinion already, so I'm not going to write that stuff down. I'm going to skip that step here, but you're welcome to write stuff down as you determine. And then number 6 is just write your position statement. So I use the although and then second statement to kind of show here's going to be my counterclaim, but this is going to be my primary claim. And so you can see in the writing, it says, although college admissions committees benefit from the current requirements for SAT and ACT testing, this system is antiquated and should be eliminated because the tests are implicitly biased, they privilege white students, and they don't accurately predict college success. So I have already outlined my essay. My essay is going to start with my counterclaim that yes, this system does in fact benefit admissions boards. It makes it easier for them. But I'm going to argue that that does not outweigh the fact that the system is implicitly biased, so I'm going to write a paragraph about that, that they privilege white students, so I'm going to write a paragraph about that, and that they don't accurately predict college success. So I'm going to write a 4-body paragraph essay, which will end up being 6 paragraphs total if I go with this thesis statement. Now, what I can tell you is, and I've talked to lots of you about this in our writing conferences, sometimes you get writing and you realize your thesis doesn't quite match your body paragraphs. I think in my heart that it's possible that the implicit bias and the privileging of wealthy white students might end up being just 1 paragraph. That might just be too close to the same thing. So then I have the freedom to go down to a 5-paragraph essay. So just keep an eye on that as writers. That's an important thing to remember. Now, if all of that still doesn't land with you, if you're still like, I don't quite get how I'm supposed to roll here, then I've created a new space for you to do these things. There's a whole space for you to wonder. So if you don't have a position on something and you don't know how to get to a position on something, go into this box and you're going to do all of these things. You're just going to ask yourself questions. Maybe have a conversation with a friend or a parent or a sibling. And then if you look here, I just have some model thought questions for that SAT essay, like how does college affect or benefit students mentally or physically? How does college affect or benefit society as a whole? Now, it turns out I didn't land on any of those issues. I landed on, is college admissions testing an acceptable practice in this day and age? I chose that. But look at all the other ideas I came up with prior to figuring that out. So here's another whole round of questions you can ask yourself. These ones are all about the SAT testing. If you still are stuck, you're going to have to just come into my office hours and then we'll process together. Now, when you get there, I'm for sure going to ask if you've watched this video and whether you've spent some time in this box. And then we can move forward if you're still stuck after that. All right, what's due this week is just your position statement, literally 1 sentence. It's 15 points, and that's the only thing that is due this week. Now, I do at the bottom of this document give you a preview of weeks 4, 5, and 6, just so that, again, you have the full context of why you're doing what you're doing this week. Because in weeks 4 and 5, you're going to investigate, so you're going to research, and you're going to start constructing your concept of what you're going to argue in your paper, okay? Remember, you have to argue the counter position. You have to provide something in there. And then in week 6, you're going to craft or write your persuasive essay, and you're going to be focusing on answering your question, but also acknowledging that other side. So week 6 is wholly dedicated. There's literally nothing in week 6 except this essay. So that's what you're going to culminate in week 6. Now, I wanted to get back to this highlighted space for just a second. See here where it says, in week 5, you're going to discuss your findings with several colleagues, and you're going to be grouped according to chosen topic. Okay, here's how that's going to go down. If you were to go back to Schoology and look here in week 3, it says sign up on this Google Doc according to your chosen topic. And if you'll click on it, you'll notice that it brings you to this Google Doc that you need to sign up on. I explain how to do that here, but I'll just talk to you about it. Okay, so let's say you wanted to write about the Green New Deal. Fine, then you're going to write your name right here. You're going to put your email address here. And in this column, you're going to let me know whether you want to have a live or a digital conversation. Now, here's the difference. Live does not mean that we're all going to be hanging out in a coffee shop together. Live in this day and age still means like what we're doing right now, like we're having a conversation over Zoom. And so if you want to have a live conversation for us, it'd be over Google Meet, then you're going to write live. If you don't want to have a conversation with people live, like you don't want to be in a Google Meet, you would rather have, say, a common Google Doc where everybody just shares their opinions, then you're going to write digital conversation. So live means a Google Meet. Digital conversation means you're going to share a common Google Doc and you guys are going to kind of figure out your opinions together that way in writing. So that's it. I hope you're super excited to research some current events, to create a persuasive essay, and to convince me that your opinion is valid. We'll see you guys.